What's up, everybody? It's Cam here. I'm here today to deliver somewhat of a public service announcement. Considering the recent announcement of Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch, and the amount of people that I know, especially that just started their Monster Hunter fandom with Monster Hunter World, I think it's important to visit some details between the two games, mainly because although Generations is newly announced, Generations Ultimate anyway, is newly announced to the West, coming out in August of this year, and Monster Hunter World came out in January of this year. Monster Hunter Generations is actually an older game. Generations Ultimate is actually a port of a Switch game called Monster Hunter Double Cross, and it itself was a port from the 3DS version of the same game. So I would like to just go through a bunch of things, starting with bad stuff. To be completely honest, Monster Hunter Double Cross, Monster Hunter World, although they have the same kind of guts, there are some key differences. So I'm going to start with the cons, then we're going to do some stuff in the middle that could be pros or cons depending on where you stand with certain aspects of the game, and then we'll go to some pros. Now, I'm mainly doing this for people that started with World that are interested or disinterested in going back and playing Generations Ultimate, which I'll probably refer to as Double Cross. That's the Japanese name. So let me go through a few of these things. First things first, the main difference that you're going to find when you go from the Xbox and the PlayStation to the Nintendo Switch, or basically the 3DS, is there's going to be a big graphical detail differential. Now the graphics look okay, but they don't use the most of the Switch's power, and it's quite apparent. There are spots that are clearly just up-res from the 3DS version. Some of the textures look really nice, but the polygons themselves are still very polygonal. But it's definitely something that's going to stand out. Now, with that being said, a lot of the monsters, all you have to do is watch the trailer for GU or Double X or Double Cross. A lot of the monsters still look really good, and I know this from experience because I do have the Japanese version, but that is the first thing you need to take note of. Number 2, zone loading. It's something that's jarring and baffling. If you started with World, there's an open world map. When you move from area to area, there's no real sense and change except for that first time when you're breaking through like weeds and branches and stuff. Other than that, there's nothing really separating the zones. The monsters themselves move pretty freely. You can actually attack monsters between zones. That doesn't happen in the old games. When you move out of a zone, you're safe from that monster. Now, that's kind of a bad thing and a good thing depending on who you ask. If you ever need to heal, because you can't heal while moving, leaving the map is sometimes a necessity. But it also makes the game a little more disjoint. People complain about the load times between zones, but really they're not all that bad. You're talking like a second or two. The numbered zones are a lot more important. Knowing where monsters can go and will be is extremnery important in the older games. Number 3, moving while taking potions. That's not a thing anymore. Whenever you take a potion or eat anything or do anything to your character, they stop in place, they take it, they flex, and then you can keep moving. And it's done like that on purpose, so you can't just heal scum your way. There's no partial healing, none of that stuff. You have to learn how to fight. A lot of people are going to get their butts kicked because they don't really know how to fight. They rely on a lot of the things in World that make it easier. This game is not going to be easy if that's how you played. If you can go through a mission and you don't really use potions all that much, you'll do fine here. Are we on number 4? I think we're on number 4. No scout flies and no slinger. 2 of the main big upgrades that changed how World was played. It was kind of made into more of a Western action game. The scout flies help with that because in the older games, when you spawn on the map, unless you have a skill or an item that can show you where the monster is, or a cat, a palico, because you do still have palicos, you don't know where the monster is. You have to kind of know the places where monsters spawn. They'll always tend to spawn in certain areas, and they'll always go between certain areas depending on the monster. But that's something you either have to know or you have to be alerted to going in. There's no like finding tracks or no scout flies pointing you in the right direction. I would just buy psycho serums at the beginning of the game. Take one every time you start the match. You also have to throw paintballs at the monster so you can track the monster around the map. It's something that's going to be tough to get used to when you're fighting a monster and it runs off and you have no idea where it goes. So get into the habit of paintballing monsters if you do plan on playing this game, because it's something that you absolutely have to do. The slinger, there is no slinger, so there's no mobility in the slinger, using the slinger to get around the map. Now granted, the maps in this game are a lot different, but we'll get to that in a minute. But there's no slinger to like shoot you up in the air, to do crazy zip stuff, or to shoot things at the monsters. Now all those things are represented in items, but those items are kind of separate from the slinger. You can't really carry those around. So, you know, if you got used to using that, oh boy, things are going to change for you. Next thing I just want to get to is some of the quality of life downgrades, because you're going from you're basically going from Gen 5 back to Gen 4. This is basically built on the same game engine that Gen 4 was built on. There's some quality of life downgrades that I really need to talk about. Number one, no radial menu. That's kind of a given that it was on 3DS first, but that little radial menu that you can use with the right stick and everything and select your items, that's gone. Number two, no auto crafting. When you got items in the other game, they automatically kind of crafted to the things you needed them to be. That's not going to happen in this game. If you pick mushrooms and stuff and you want to make them into potions, first of all, you need herbs and mushrooms. Anyway, you have to do it yourself, which means there's not a lot of crafting in the middle of battle. Now, granted, that zone loading thing can help you with that, but you actually have to stop fighting in order to craft items. Number three, no weapon tree backtracking. So once you build an item, or once you build a weapon in the weapon tree, there's no going back and seeing what the other things were and seeing if they were better for you. You just reload your save. I recommend saving before you build any weapons, testing them out, and then if you don't want it, just reset your game, or reset the close it out. There are no weapon trees visible in the game. Just to let you know, if you want to see what a weapon tree branches out to, I recommend just downloading a file on your phone or something, or using a wiki or something like that. Just having it open at all times beside you, because you're going to need it. Because there's also no in-game wiki. No place telling you what parts are weak, what parts are strong. There's no numbers popping up. You just have to kind of know. And you'll kind of know because hitting weak spots kind of has a hit stun delay in them. I don't know if you've kind of noticed, if you've ever noticed, when you hit a weak part, your weapon kind of slows down as you hit to show that you really impacted the monster. This is especially prevalent when you hit with heavy weapons like the great sword, or the switch axe, or the hammer with a really big hit. It really slows down. There's no infinite whetstones, nets, or pickaxes. Yeah, sorry, you have to make those and take those along with you. Whetstones are plentiful. You shouldn't really have a problem. Just make item sets and always keep whetstones on you. But those pickaxes and nets will get annoying. Also, harvesting takes a longer time. It's not just go down and do an animation and then collect 3 things really quickly after that. You have to go through the animation for everything. Gathering quests. At the beginning of the game, they take a while. They kind of suck. They really suck. Now, granted, most of them are optional in Generations, because Generations is all about fighting monsters. But just know that they're there, and they're annoying, and the egg quests are kind of annoying. I kind of like the egg quests, because I think they make you kind of think on your toes, and know your routes and things like that. They help you to learn the map. Missing moves. Some of the moves that you got accustomed to using are not going to be there anymore. Get used to that. That's just, they add new moves in every game. There's some things that you're going to miss, especially if you played certain ways. Great sword users, I know I'm a great sword user. That shoulder tackle is gone. The dragon piercer arrows, those aren't a thing. Now, learning bow and arrow is going to be very different. The long sword, what's that? Not the Fade Slash, but the one where you get hit but you don't take any damage and you counterattack. That's not there anymore. Just learn to do without that. Actually, it kind of is. It's just in a different form. But all those things are cons of going back and playing the old Monster Hunter. Now let's get to some more in the middle stuff. It could be pros or cons depending on who you ask. But these things are kind of neutral for me. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. There's no real story. There is a story in Monster Hunter Generations. It doesn't really matter. The story doesn't really matter in World either, if you ask me. But if you're looking for like a really immersive story to keep you moving toward that next big thing, it's not going to really be there. Most of the conversations with NPCs that are your main NPCs are there to move along the story, but they're mostly quippy, jokey things, because Generations is basically the anniversary collection of Monster Hunter. It incorporates all the old Monster Hunters into it in different ways, shapes, and form. There's no voice acting, which is a plus or minus depending on how much you hated different characters. I know personally, I think the handler, although she kind of gets in the way. It allows for some really interesting writing. The game doesn't really take itself seriously writing-wise. The environments are a lot more open. In World, you could get caught in an area where you just have no choice but to dodge and block until the monster kind of leaves the area, like it's just too small for you to really fight in. That really doesn't happen very often in Generations, which I personally think is a good thing. But there's like a lot less terrain and verticality. It's a lot more you and the monster. There's a couple of ledges here and there, but you gotta learn how to fight. And the last thing on the middling list is more complicated armor. So the armor skills in World were very simple. You had skills on the armor. You put on the piece of armor, you get that skill up to the certain level that you have. You can put on more pieces of armor with those skills on it to get better versions of those things. That's not how it works in the old Monster Hunter games. This is very important to take note of. In the old Monster Hunter games, when you had pieces of armor, each armor had pluses and minuses in certain skills. In order to make a skill activate, you need at least 10 points in that skill. Once you have 10 points in that skill, it activates at level 1. And some skills have different levels to them. Some of them only have one level, so if you get 10 or more points in it, boom, you have this skill. Some, like attack, have I think 6 levels, or 5 or 6 levels. So at 10, you get attack up small. At 15, you get attack up medium. I think it has maybe, I think I overestimated that. I think it has like 4 or 5. But 15, you have attack up medium. At 20 points, you have attack up large. But you have to have 20 different points of attack on your armor. If you have 9 points of attack, for instance, you get nothing. You get nothing. Now, granted, you can create your gems in this game. You don't have to look for them. You don't have to get lucky. So that's cool. And your charms act as extra gem slots as well in this game. The gem system and the charm system is very, very different. You need 10 points. You also can have negative skills. So if you have minus 10 and attack, you have attack down. Now it's easy to gem out. All you have to do is put one attack skill or one attack gem in your armor. You get it down to -9. Boom, you don't have attack down anymore. But that's important to note that you can't just put on some mix match armor and go out there and think you're doing stuff. You don't have any skills. You need to activate a skill by having 10 points in that skill at least. So just keep that in mind when you go into the game. Just keep that in mind. Now, all the negative stuff out the way. Let's get to all the reasons why Mackie and I are especially excited that this game is coming west. One, I can't read Japanese and I have the Japanese version, which makes the game really, really hard to play. And I really, really wanted to get into this game because I like Monster Hunter. I have over 800 hours in the last, in 4 Ultimate and in 3 Ultimate. 400 hours in Try, had 300 hours in Freedom Unite. I have 150 hours in World, mainly because I can't play it on the go. But that's my first pro actually here, is that with the Switch and with the older versions of Monster Hunter, you can play on the go. And that's super useful when you're taking a trip or something. You'd think that 50-minute spurts of a game won't really lend itself very well to being on the go, but it actually does. I mean, being able to fight a monster and, oh, your bus stop is here, you just close that bad boy up, you know, put it in sleep mode on the Switch, and you're off, and you can open it up later and just continue your hunt. That's super useful. G rank. Oh, G rank. I'm so excited about G rank because with Monster Hunter World, they had low and high rank, and that was nice. They add in new monsters in high rank. They always do that. They add in a couple new stages. They always do that. The Elder Dragons always tend to be in the high rank, or the highest rank. That's always, you know, nice and everything. But G rank, in G rank, all the monsters, not all the monsters, but most of the monsters get new moves to change up how you fight them. And it makes it for a really especially fun endgame. These monsters you've actually fought in low and high rank and you've gotten their armors and gotten better stuff from, it actually feel like you really have to learn them again when you get to the end game with these G rank monsters and the deviant monsters that they have in Generations, which are even, they're just almost like the subspecies of old are the deviants, where they have new moves and new attacks and they change up their old moves in certain ways. And it's really, 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 really cool. And I'm excited about that. Fighting styles. There's 6 different fighting styles that you can play as. The guild styles, the regular style, and each style has their little thing that goes with it. And that kind of ties into the second thing that I want to say, supers. So you lose out on the new moves, but each weapon has a list of supers that you can equip to it that do some pretty cool, flashy things. They do a lot of damage, and you basically just build them up by fighting, by getting hits on monsters and things of that nature. And you can use these supers for like massive damage, or I know there's ones that let you heal yourself. But that goes back into the fighting styles. Each of the fighting styles can equip a different number of the supers depending on the fighting style. The guild style gets 2. The striker style, which is the super offensive style, gets 3. Mostly the other ones only get 1, but they have cool things that go along with them. Like, I forgot what it's called, but there's the adept style, I think it's what it's called. That literally allows you to dodge through any attack in the game and counterattack from it, but you just gotta know how to fight. Another really, really, really awesome thing, and these two things go hand in hand, is one, you can have more than just your starting Palico. If you get sick of your starting Palico, or you know, you just want to try out a new design, you can actually get a farm of Palicos. You know how you sent your Palicos out in Monster Hunter World, or you sent other people's Palicos out to do stuff for you? You can make your own farm of Palicos, and you can also bring in other people's Palicos to help you out, or to help you specifically in battle. Like, you can take them along with you. You don't have to find them out in the wild. You can take them along with you, and you can take 2, which is really cool. Another thing is the Palicos also have a lot more customization to them. So you don't have to have just a healing Palico or just a trapping Palico. You can mix and match and have a little bit of both. Depending on how you tweak your Palicos, you can have Palicos teach other skills to other Palicos, which I think is really cool. And that comes to this next point I'm going to make, which I know Mackie is super excited about. You can actually be your cat. and you can be backed up by other cats. Like, instead of playing as your hunter, you could be like, alright hunter, chill out, and take your Palico out into the world and fight monsters with your Palico, which is awesome. It changes up the playstyle a lot. It's something for if you get bored playing just the regular weapons, you want to just have fun, you want to fight some weaker enemies, and yeah, you can. The Palicos are playable characters. Dedicated offline mode. So in Monster Hunter World, there's like, you can play everything single player or play everything solo, but you had to get through certain cinema scenes before you could fire a flare and ask for help. In this game, there is a low rank offline mode so that you can learn how to play the game. There's no asking for help from other people with that. All the monsters are catered to one player. I think there's a low rank and a high rank offline, but that's completely separate from the online stuff, which has low rank, high rank, and G rank in it. That's all catered for 4 people all the time. So when you go in by yourself online, you have to understand you're fighting a monster that's catered for 4 people. What I would do is go through low rank offline and then go through low rank online if you plan on playing solo like I do. About monsters, there are a lot of them. When I say a lot, I mean, whereas World has 32 monsters, I think I counted, 32 large monsters. I'm not talking about like regular Jagras. I'm talking about Great Jagras, those monsters. That's including Elder Dragons, in-game, things like that. They may add more, but as of now there are 32 monsters in Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate has 94. Let me say that again. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate has 94 monsters in it. If you want to talk about content as far as different monsters to fight, 94. Also, with 94, you have an armor set for, this is the next point. There's so many more weapons and armors, alright? So many more. There's a lot. To the point where I don't think you'll have a problem finding something that looks cool. I was talking to Phil, shout out to Phil, the other day about Monster Hunter World's armor sets and about how a lot of them don't look all that good because they went for this realism. A lot of them kind of look they're okay. You won't have that problem in Double Cross, in Generations Ultimate. You won't have that problem because there's so many armor sets and so many of them look good. Also, they have transmogrification in Generations Ultimate where you can take armor and stats of one thing and put it on another. I really will run around in the in-game in this terrible armor just because I like how it looks. The DLC for Generations Ultimate is not like the DLC for World. Whereas in World, you only have like a week to complete the DLC, maybe 2 weeks, before it kind of goes away and it kind of rotates in and out. I like the older system. The DLC is all free, but what they do is every week or so they release like a bit, like one quest. You download that quest, and from then on out, you can play that quest whenever you feel like. That way, if it's too high level for you, you can just come back later. If you don't want to do it right now, you're too busy doing something else, download it, save it for later. I really like this model more than the current World model. Finally, the most important thing for me personally is that they are bringing back the Stinger Chord. And if you don't know what the Stinger Chord is, the Stinger Chord when a monster sees you and alerts you, and this like eerie music, and that goes into the monster roar and the fight. It really punctuates, hey, this is the start of the fight. I really like that, and I am excited to hear the Stinger Chord again. I hope that was helpful. I know there's some stuff that I probably missed in here. I wrote this up at like 3 in the morning. I hope to see a lot of you playing Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate when it comes out in August, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with World, because I think World is a very good game. It might be the best Monster Hunter game, like from a technical standpoint. I just want more classic Monster Hunter, and this is more classic Monster Hunter. I'm excited to see what they do for World. I'm excited to see if they make any changes to Generation from the Japanese versions. Generations Ultimate. Generations is already out. But, yeah, I will see you guys next time.